Welcome back to the lab, y'all. It is your old Professor Pilkin. Today we're going to be talking about breeding the new Samurott that we all just got from the raid this weekend. Now, if you don't have Samurott, you actually will have an opportunity to reacquire Samurott in the upcoming raid that's rerunning this weekend. Now, more than that, now I've dropped a video last week about how to approach that raid. You could use Koraidon. It's really easy. It's practically nothing. But, especially if you run it as a group. I ran it solo, but if you run it as a group, it's even easier. But what I'm really hyped about is the incoming Tera Raid for Ditto. That means you can get a 5 IV Ditto. That means a Ditto that has 5 of these 6 stats will always be best. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means, how to exchange that for a proper Masuda Ditto, and what all that means here shortly. But first things first, we need to talk about Samurott. Now, Samurott is going to drop with a bug Tera type, and in breeding, you're probably going to lose that. Breeding for Tera types, the only real way to keep the Tera type bug would essentially be to breed this with another bug type Pokemon, and hopefully you get the best possible stats. Me personally, I don't really care about that because I can just use Tera Shards and give whatever Tera type I need. For me, that's a lot easier. Now, what a nitpick here might seem a bit counterintuitive for that, but hear me out on this. So, all best stats here. In fact, if we go over to the screen here in the box, it's just a lot easier to see it there. So, Samurott has all best stats. That is literally the best you can get. Now, the exception to that rule is obviously if you do some EV training. If I actually go back out here, we can kind of see the EV training screen. I don't know why you have to go back through all these different screens to see it, but you do. So, notice that there's no EV training down here. That literally is just extra stats that I can add on here. So, preferably, I'd like to EV train up attack. But I'm not going to EV train up this Samurott, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to breed this Samurott off to get the stats that I really want. Because my biggest nitpick on this Pokemon is its lonely nature. If we go back over here, you'll see that attack has a little hash up, but defense has a little hash down. That's because that lonely nature increases your attack ever so slightly, but lowers your defense. Okay? Now, we are talking about a Pokemon that already has pretty low special defense and pretty low defense, but good attack, good special attack. Special attack isn't that much lower than attack. Like, you can use all of those skills. So, if you want to talk, like, strictly natures, you have Lonely Nature, which increases attack but lowers defense. Brave Nature, which increases attack, lowers speed. Adamant Nature, which increases attack, lowers special attack. And Naughty Nature, which increases attack, lowers special defense. So, if I were breeding this Pokemon, I'd actually breed this for a Brave nature. That way, speed is slightly reduced because it's already a pretty slow Pokemon by Pokemon standpoints. So speed would probably go down to like, let's say 173-ish, give or take. I don't know exactly how much it would drop by, but you could do that. Now, there's several different ways to actually do this. I can actually do that right now with Mint, so we can actually find out right now. Should have a Brave Mint. Let's find out here. There's the Tera Shards I was talking about earlier. I can use 50 of these Tera Shards. In fact, if I wanted a poison, I could do that really easily. Flying, Bug, which obviously is what we already have on this Pokemon. You could use these Tera Shards over at Gym Leader Larry's Sushi Chef, and she can actually change whatever you need. Look at the 400 Dragon-type Tera Shards. That actually might be a really fun resistance to have. But nevertheless, you can give whatever Tera type you need. I don't like breeding for Tera types because it means you got to breed it with 2 Pokemon, and that means that you're running a pretty high risk of just muddling your stats. Whereas for me, having these good Dittos makes those stats a little bit easier. Once again, I'll talk about that here in a moment. But first of all, let's go up to our mints. So I'm looking for a Brave Mint. Okay, there we are, Brave Mint. So I'm going to go ahead and use this item, and I'm going to use it on Samurott. So let's see. So notice that when I did that, it says it changes the effects, But if I actually go into the summary here, okay, you notice that now attack is down, or attack is up, but speed is down. Now, actually, speed got affected a lot worse than I thought. But look how much higher our defense is. When you're talking about building a Pokemon for PvP, that would be preferable. Now, I would like special defense up. You can actually use, let's see here. I have to remember which mint it is. That you can actually increase special defense and then decrease speed. And that would probably give you just enough to kind of eke that out. Then your special attack and your attack are going to be, probably pretty similar in stat. But nevertheless, you could have, a Pokemon that defends on both special attack and defense itself with a lower speed. That would be the sassy mint that would do that. But here's the thing you need to be aware of. It still is lonely by nature. All we've done is change the effect of the nature. That means that if I have an Everstone on Samurott, it's still going to pass on this lonely nature. So what I'm going to do when I'm breeding here, let's just go over here and create a picnic real quick. I'm going to go either get Egg Power 2 or Egg Power 3. If you want Egg Power 2, I showed this off in the breeding video last week, but I'll show you once again. Egg Power 2, you can come over here. It's really easy. Any restaurant that has this gold plate, just jump in here. And this one right here. Compote du Fil. I probably butchered that, but whatever. Egg Power 2. Now, Egg Power 2, in my experience, between 40 to 50 eggs, where Egg Power 1 is like usually about 30 eggs for me. I prefer Egg Power 3, but here's the deal, and I talked about this last week. If you're going to do Egg Power 3, there's several of those sandwiches, several sandwiches, in fact. I'll put a link down below for all the sandwiches that you could potentially utilize to create Egg Power 3. I talked about them all last week, but there's quite a few of them. But what you'd want to do if you're going to do Egg Power 3 is, first of all, go to Options. Make sure that you have autosave turned off. If you have autosave turned on, it is going to absolutely mess up this effect. So autosave turned off, then come down here and create a manual save point. Pretty straightforward, right? Then, what we're going to do is we're going to go over here, we're going to create a picnic. Bada bing, bada boom. And then you'd make an Egg Power 3 sandwich. And like I said, use the link down in the video down below to, and I'll put some in the comments as well. But they all require Urban Mysticas, but at this stage of the game, it's really not that big of a deal. Here's the deal, though. If you don't get the stats you want, what you could do is you can actually go back to that save point and then just restore and do another reroll of your eggs. Literally what this does is this allows you to reroll all of those stats. So you get 50, 60, 70, sometimes I get upwards of 90 eggs with Egg Power 3. I get a ton of eggs with Egg Power 3. And then, if I go through all those breeding processes, rather than, number one, it saves you a ton of time, because if you have to get rid of all of those unwanted Pokemon, you don't then have to, spend an hour or two just throwing them out into Wonder Trays or just releasing them. Then you literally just go back here, close the game out. You're going to force close the game, reload it, and it'll load from that save point. Very, very, very simple. Now, what I would personally be looking for, obviously, is I'd be looking for Pokemon, preferably in a perfect world, that has, in fact, I'll go back to this other screen, just because the screen shows the easiest methodology. I'm going to be looking for a Pokemon that has at least 5, if not all 6 best stats, and is, as we discussed before, brave by nature. So it's going to take some breeding to make sure we get that, because there are 24 different natures in the game. So it might take some breeding to make that happen. But that's the reason that we're not putting an Everstone on Samurott. The downside of this is you're likely going to have to use an ability patch or ability capsule, probably an ability capsule to get the hidden ability back out of Samurott. Now you could get lucky, get that hidden ability as well. So that's the kind of 3 things we're looking for here. And it seems counterproductive, but if you're breeding for stats, that's what you're going to be looking for. So let's go back in here to Samurott. The 3 key things to look for. Number 1, shell armor. You want shell armor. Number 2, like we saw on that other screen, we want as many of these best as possible. If you have a 6 IV Ditto like I do, all these stats are best on my Ditto. Great. If you don't, if you have only 5 from the recent Tera Raid, you're going to have between 4 and 6 on each one, and just pick the best of each. But the main thing I'm looking for here is a brave nature on my Samurott. Seems like nitpicking, because once again, I can come in here and use the mints on whatever's bred. It's just up to you. If you want to use mints, if you want to, because you could just, like I could use this Samurott, but the reality is a lot of us are going to be shiny hunting this Pokemon. That's really what we're talking about here, is whatever shiny you get, you can either go for, because if you get a Pokemon with a brave nature, with the hidden ability, and with 6 IVs, then rather than using this Samurott, then you can put an Everstone on that Samurott and keep doing your shiny hunt with the bred Samurott. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense, because if we get the stats we want, then the shiny hunt becomes a lot easier, and you're most likely going to get the stats you want in the shiny. If you don't get the stats you want in the shiny, remember, you can use an ability capsule here, and you can use a nature mint. Now, the downside is IVs are very deadly important, and that's why we're going to talk about Ditto now. Okay, so Ditto, my Ditto, I got insanely lucky. In fact, I'll go back to the other screen here. In one of my Wonder Trades, and I've talked about this before, in one of my Wonder Trades, I got this Japanese Ditto. Now, I do have a couple other 6 IV Dittos, but most of those have been Genmon. I do highly recommend not using Genmon for obvious reasons. That could wind up causing some problems down the road. But I got, that's Pokemon that were generated on a website. If you want an example of how that looks, they become pretty obvious because they usually have the website's name. I don't use this Pokemon anymore for obvious reasons. But when it comes to the Pokemon that you're using for shiny hunting, this is one, like I said, I got this out of a trade, and it's all 6 stats. That means with the Destiny Knot, that is that little item right there. With the Destiny Knot applied to Ditto, that's gonna make sure that I have 5 of the 6 stats between these 2 Pokemon. So notice that both these Pokemon have all best stats. That means 5 of my stats are guaranteed to be best. Now, if you don't have a 6 IV Ditto, it is what it is. They do drop from 6-star Tera Raids, and I'll cover tomorrow in a video how to make these Tera Raids incredibly easy, but Ditto Tera Raids are pretty rare. It's going to take you a while to acquire those. So the Tera Raid that's coming tonight is going to drop a 5, or say tonight, this weekend, is going to drop a 5 IV Ditto. That means that one of these stats is going to be something completely random. Now, the good news is you can still put a Destiny Knot on there. The bad news is one of those stats could copy over, which means with my Samurott here, I've got 6 best stats, and with that Ditto, I would have 5 of these as best, which literally means most of your Pokemon are either going to drop with 4 or 5 of these best stats. That's fine, though. If you get a shiny with those 4 best stats, just bottle cap those stats. Go to Montenerva, go to the ability trainer, and then use your bottle caps, and he'll train your Pokemon up. It's really easy. The big downside of that, though, is that bottle capped abilities do not breed over. Just like we talked about earlier with the mints, those minted, the minted natures do not bottle cap over, or do not breed over, nor do bottle capped hypertrain stats. If you want an example of a hypertrain stat, let's go here to, go to my shiny box. Where's my shiny box? There we are. So my shiny Charizard doesn't have bottle cap stats. Somebody should. Who has bottle cap stats here? Here we go. So my shiny Tinkaton. Notice that when she dropped, she had like bad stats. Because at the time, I did not have my Ditto I have now. So it says hypertrained, hypertrained, hypertrained. That means that if I were to actually breed her, all of those stats would be whatever they were originally. Notice that none of these are best. Obviously, that's not the situation you'd want, but it's a situation you could run across. It is what it is. So most of my bred shinies seem to have pretty good stats. Notice this bred Charizard has 5. Attack is decent. Everything else is really good. Cinderace has speed. Pretty good. Everything else is best. I would then just bottle cap that stat and then, or hyper train that stat. Same with Berserker here. All of the above. So, that's the main thing that this Ditto does for you, is that having the Destiny Knot, right there, the little ball of yarn, having that tied to the Pokemon means that it's going to drop as many of these stats as possible. You do have a chance of dropping all 6 stats, but with a 5 IV Ditto, one Ditto that's got one of these that's not best, it could drop up, maximum. A minimum of 4, maximum of 6. Just really depends. So, kind of the best possible thing there. Now, Masuda, the Masuda method, is when you use a foreign Ditto. In this case, that's a Japanese Ditto. If I go over here to my Same Energy folder, there we go. You'll notice that I've got a bunch of different... I've got a Japanese Ditto here that's kind of got bad stats. I've got another Japanese Ditto here with kind of crap stats. There's my Genmon. Yesterday we did a video and I got this German Ditto, which kind of has pretty garbo stats. But here's the deal, guys. With everybody getting these 5 IV Dittos this weekend, with those Dittos dropping like crazy, essentially what you can do is you can actually go do a trade. So if I go here to the Poke Portal, I've got a few of these I can actually trade out here, so I'll just trade one of my other Mon. I don't want to trade that Genmon because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But if I go to Link Trade, and I use the link code 4448, and I begin a search, this is literally just a Masuda trading system. Somebody set this up a long time ago, and it's literally just a code that is just for trading Dittos. Now, Masuda literally is just a dude's name, but what it essentially is called in Japan is the what they call it, the foreign marriage system. Essentially, what you're looking for is you're looking for a Ditto that is, and I'll go ahead and I'll just trade off this Ditto. What the heck? Okay, and I'll check the summary of the incoming Ditto. So, wait, that's my Ditto. Oh, check the other Pokemon summary. Ha 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 ha. So that is also an English Ditto. So what I can do is I can actually go trade this guy one of my Japanese Dittos. You have a little favor there. But essentially, you have with a foreign Ditto, I could use my Japanese Ditto, I could use my German Ditto, I could use my Italian Ditto, doesn't matter. I have increased odds of dropping a shiny. So it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. You can use this code, trade Dittos all over the world. And if you come across somebody that has, like I said, you want to check the other person's Ditto there and make sure that they're actually giving you a foreign Ditto. But if you happen to trade with somebody and get, let's say, a Japanese Ditto or, German Ditto or Spanish Ditto, whatever it winds up being, Australian Ditto, that foreign Ditto has an increased chance of dropping shinies. Now, when I say increased, it's like a 1 in 600 chance. Oop, I didn't hit. Hey, there we go. Sorry, person that was waiting on me. So it's like a 1 in 600 chance versus like, or I think it's 1 in 480 or something like that. It's some arbitrary number, but that is up from like the 1 in 800 chance, or like just if you have the shiny, charm from completing the game. This person's taken forever. Yeah, we can cancel the trade and do that again. Yeah, let's quit. So, in essence, that's kind of what you're looking for. You're looking for either a Japanese Ditto or wherever. If you're looking in Japan, you'd obviously want like an English-speaking Ditto or a German Ditto, some kind of foreign Ditto that is going to increase that. Now, with the raids coming tomorrow, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Masuda method, and once again, with these 5-star raids coming, that means that a lot of people are going to be dumping their old Dittos, getting these new Dittos, and then people are going to be using that code to trade for Dittos. So check those stats, start doing those trades. Maybe get 2 or 3 Dittos, because if you didn't know, here in the Tera Raid battle, it is going to be flooded. Starting Thursday, it is going to be Thursday night. It is going to be flooded with Ditto trade or Ditto Tera Raids. So you need to jump on those. Obviously, the higher stats, the better, but the lowest that it's going to drop is a 5 IV. So jump on those. Get 2 or 3 of them, start trading them out, and see if we can just, basically flood the system and get rid of all those old Dittos. And eventually, you're going to find a 5, maybe you get lucky, a 6 IV, a pseudo Ditto, a foreign Ditto, that you can use for your shiny breeding. So hopefully this makes a lot of sense, guys. If you have any questions, put it in the comments down below. We'll talk a little bit more tomorrow about best practices for this incoming Ditto raid, because this incoming Ditto raid is super duper important for breeding. But for now, like, comment, and share. I'll be back with more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet for you guys tomorrow.